or something like that. The Old Tube Radio Network.
How do you do, ladies and gentlemen?
Greetings to you.
Wherever you are, for music and the latest news from home and from afar, the station for you is
OTR, Old Tube Radio.
The station for you is
OTR.
The music, news, latest things, and hopefully the tube radios. Here's the offending piece of equipment, the wireless keyboard that just, after so many years, decided to stop being a keyboard and wireless at the same time. The Old Tube Radio Network, hello everybody. 27085 if you are in the RXDX zone. Channel 11 is where we are at right now for the directed net roll call. The shortwave listeners, after that, the tube radios will be checking in. Also want to say hello to those joining us at oldtuberadio.net. Many of you tuning in to hear some of your favorite radios, maybe some radios that you have not heard before, maybe some I have not heard before. Those will be coming up soon. Hello to California, Missouri, stations listening in from Kentucky, Tennessee, Canada, Colorado, Georgia, Washington, lots of California stations. Hello to South Carolina. Looks like we've got somebody from Australia, Virginia, Utah, Maryland, and a host of others yet to be determined as they tune in to the Old Tube Radio Network. I will start off right away here since I want to make sure that everything is working, and it appears to be, so we will try our SW, and this is the last week of our 8-week roster, so if you're out there, Jim, you've done a great job with 8 in a row. If you check in now.
00, checking in, Dennis.
All right, sounding good, and we will look for you at the end of all of this, getting us started off here. 30-something years doing this on the air with your tube radios, your collections, taking time out of your Saturday evenings to share them with us and all the shortwave listeners. SWL number 1 will get a check-in, as will SWL number 2, Mr. OBP, who is hanging out over on the video chat. I think if you've got oldtuberadio.net up, if you click on the video screen, it says, whatever it says, something about Bozo Control doing something, that'll take you to the YouTube site, and you will be in the video chat. Hello, Mr. OBP, who's reporting 14 sunspots. So that's at least one that is pointed this way, although the way the bands have been, it would be certainly hard to tell that anything was pointed towards the Earth. SWL number 3 checked in. I saw Rob at the bowling alley, where I think he managed to beat me by a couple of pins, thanks to some very errant bad throws at the end of the game. SWL 4. SWL 5, Ida, Mama Rose is back and recuperating and doing quite well, actually. Got her checked in. SWL 6. SWL 7. SWL 8. I think I'll switch over to the S meter, so as you check in, you can give yourself a signal report. SWL, let's see, no, we don't want 8. We want 11 and 12. 11 and 12 have an email check-in for Jim and Lisa, SWL 13. Perfectly okay to check in at oldtuberadio.net if you can't make it directly on the air. I'll keep an eye out for you. SWL 14. SWL 15. SWL 16. SWL 17. SWL 18. SWL 19. It was a great spring day today. There may be a lot of people still outside because it is nice. Nicer than perhaps being inside, cloistered into the radio room. SWL 20.
And number 20 here, check in 29.
and proxy myself in for next week.
All right. I'll make a little notation here because I haven't made the list up for next week yet. Reminder that I do not have the crossband radio functional tonight, so if you do check in, make sure you can get a hold of somebody that can relay to me. All right, Harvey, I've got you and all the rest of the gang at the appropriate time. And the gentleman who was sitting in front of the very nice-looking and great-sounding, I suppose, since I didn't hear the transmit side of it, Browning Golden Eagle Mark III, Mr. JT, with the ground rod. What does he call it? The record ground rod champion from the Wasama Swamp. And I will say, 21, that you had, I like the amount of ping that you have adjusted on your Mark III. It's just right. It's just enough to get in the game and let you know it's the Browning, but not enough to impede conversations while you wait for the thing to silence out. Thanks for checking in tonight, and thanks for doing the old radio night. Over to SWL 23. SWL 24. SWL 25.
Hello, Dennis. 25 checking in.
25 checking in, sounding good. There's all sorts of stuff going on up and down the valley. Hope you were able to grab some of it, but you're sounding good now.
No, I ran a weed eater all day. Anyway, nice to sit out.
Yeah, that's how I started. That's how I started my morning before I washed cars and went to work, and then went to work again, and then came back here. So it's that kind of weed eater kind of day because of all the nice sunshine and rain that we've had. There are a lot of things that are green, but maybe don't need to be where they are at. Thanks for checking in. SWL 27.
The crossband, KI6.
All right, from the crossband. I'm not sure how you coordinated that, but it worked. And I heard you. I have an antenna issue. Actually, I have a coax issue. That was antenna, but when I started checking around from our windstorm of a few days ago, the coax was in really bad shape, and I didn't have a suitable replacement for that frequency. So thanks for checking in, Dwayne. Got a proxy check-in for SWL 29. If we go over to SWL 31, and I move up to the big board, we would see that Hendersonville, Tennessee is on the list, waving a hand from the very well decked out old tube radio room. Thanks, Robert and Teresa, for listening in tonight. SWL 32. SWL 33, myself, I'll check myself in, as tardy as I was. Jingle Singers did get to practice, so I know they're here. And things are still breaking, so I'm sure Bozo Control is here. Let's try SWL 35, who should be waving a hand from Cheyenne, from Cheyenne, Wyoming. There's another Utah guy that's coming up. I will keep an eye out for Mr. Bill. There's been some reports of E-Skip sort of fading in and out the last couple of evenings, so we'll see what we can get tonight. SWL 36. SWL 37.
37 here. Good evening, Dennis.
Good evening, Chris. I'm putting in the X in the square because you sound marvelous. Thanks.
Well, thank you. Thank you very much.
Then we have SWL 39.
39 checking in.
Hey, see what the good weather does for us? It brings out all the stations. And you needed an X in this 8-week roster there, Dr. Dan, and you've got it. Sounding good.
Yeah,
Okay. Yeah, I've been kind of under the weather, as they say.
All right. Well, sorry to hear that, but you do sound pretty good tonight. So don't overdo it, and maybe if you're under the weather, the kind of weather that we're having will hopefully improve things. Thanks for checking in. SWL 40.
This is SWL 40 checking in from the Twilight Zone. Welcome to Chinatown, where everything is a little bit crazy.
What do they say? Everything old is new again? Where you're at, everything old is old again. Thanks for checking in. And it should be safe to crawl out from under the bed at any moment. Thanks for listening. Over to SWL 41. Shortwave listener 42.
Yeah, we'll need to proxy in 42 in the gang. They got stuff going on tonight.
Okay, I will do that. We'll start with Jerry, 42. Thanks for that relay. SWL 43. SWL 44, who has been tuned in since before the net. Looks like he's got all the Universal Media Net web devices functioning for the moment. And maybe that was the Solar Maximum ray that was playing havoc with all the items here tonight. But so far, so good. I pulled out the wired keyboard and things are working nice. We'll see if we can get some skip conditions tonight. Let's see if North Fork, SWL 45 is around tonight.
Yeah, you're sounding as good as always. 45.
And likewise, I hear a portent of radios to come when we start checking them in here after the roll call. So keep that thing warmed up. Sounds good. Also on the video side tonight, Mr. Juliet Whiskey from the Heartland, Iowa. Hello, John. Thanks for checking in and up super early. Friar Tuck up there in Nottingham Forest. Or maybe he's up early or up late. I'm not sure which one, but Wayne is out there waving a hand on the video side. Good to hear you. Hear you in Central Oregon also, Ryan. And from South Florida, Michael. Over on the video page tonight. I hope all of you have had a chance to get some radio time in this week, whether it's old tubes or new stuff or whatever you do. Next is SWL 46. SWL 47.
Are you recording right now?
Am I recording? Well, the archive is actually recording, and I think the video is recording. So, in a word, I guess I am recording.
Oh, good. I just needed evidence because for the first time in forever, I get to say greetings from the radio patio, SWL 47.
Yeah, it's been that kind of day and that kind of evening. Hopefully it will be that kind of evening. You sound pretty darn good from the radio patio. It's been a while. I had to wait till mid-April, but it's happening. Thanks for checking in.
Thank you.
SWL 48. SWL 48 checking in from somewhere way out there in Madera Town, I think. Hello, Sam. If you can hear me, you are checked in. Over. Very good to hear Sam on the two-way side tonight. Over to SWL 49. So I should refresh my page and see if anybody else has come in. I see X4000. Where's the X4000 alarm? Brentwood is beaconing up to the giant satellite, the geosynchronous Bozematron and beaconing down here. Hop, skip, and jump into Fresno. X4000 is checked in. Over to SWL 50.
Alive and well, coming to you direct.
Direct or collect. Remember they used to say call collect or direct. They don't do that anymore. But I hear you collect and direct. Thanks, Mark. SWL 51.
SWL 51 checking in.
SWL 51, where nothing in his control room ever breaks, I don't think. It's always right on time. Thanks, Dave. SWL 52. SWL 53. SWL 54. I got a note 2 proxy in 54, which I will do. SWL 55. All right, I've got you here in the Flatlands. Thought I heard somebody on sideband on this channel calling for you earlier before the net. But you're out there now. Thanks, M&M. SWL 56.
Good evening, Dennis and the net. 56, just for kicks.
Hello, Phil. It's getting that time again around your neighborhoods there where they do the once a week or once a weekend big, let's say yard sales, but they're actually like the street sales or something. They should, I drove by one today, so they're starting. I used to go to those long, long ago when you only had to park like 2 blocks away. Now I think you have to park in the next state. Who's next? SWL 57. And Easy Street rebuilding the MC-12. Did we have an MC-12? We had one last week. Checking in. If you're going to rebuild something, that would be definitely one to spend a little time and money on, because they sound great, and they are the best of the best for general radio telephone, I think. Good luck on finding all the things that you need to do that. Over to SWL 58.
SWL 58 checking in from the Classy side of the Big Sandy Canal. Not to be confused with the Mendota side, which is where that other neighbor's from. Anyways, thank you, Dennis.
Yeah, on the right side of the tracks or the canal. Nice signal tonight and very nice audio as well. That's Jeremy. Out there on the high side of the ditch banks. You know, I grew up in the L.A. area where you could see the Hollywood sign beaconing down on us peons in the South Bay, and I think Jeremy is up there on the high side of the ditch banks where it's the big white letters Biola beacon down on Northwest Shaw Avenue. Anyway, thanks for checking in.
Thanks, Dennis.
SWL 59. Shortwave listener 60.
Thank you much, Dennis. And this evening we want to check in a new member of the mobile family. One more I added to my collection. This is a Road Talker 40, Sears Road Talker 40, straight AM. Beautiful looking radio. And doggone it, we wanted to add it to the collection and check it in. SWL 60 with a Road Talker 40.
Sounded good, Joe. I'll put a little note here, RT40 and the Road Talker 40. I remember when the 40 channels came out and Sears had all of their 23-channel radios sitting in boxes out in the store for about a third of their normal price. They just couldn't get rid of them. They needed to get rid of them. So I imagine they were selling them at cost or below. Thanks to that particular, probably that radio right there that made all their 23-channel stuff obsolete. Thanks for checking in. You're sounding good.
Thank you much, Dennis.
And City Slicker on the Browning Mark III, warming up the Mark III. Thanks, Rich, out in Ohio. I don't know if we'll have conditions, but talk to somebody. Maybe you can't talk here to Central California, but I know you'll be able to dial up somebody on the Mark III. SWL 61.
51, checking in, Dennis.
Sounding good. Good signal tonight. Don't have to strain a bit to hear you, Dean, and we've got you checked in.
Thank you, sir.
SWL 62.
Evening time, Dennis. This is 62, checking in for downtown Clovers. We're on frequency and on time with a live mic this time.
Yeah, there is audio. I'm supplying the video. Anybody watching the video live or in the future, seeing your S-meter report as on frequency and on time, Mr. Lucky Lindy. Thanks, Rex. Taking us over to SWL 63. And that is BB out there in New York. We had at least one, yeah, up there in the top row from New York. Any others? There's another Albion, Angola. On the New York stations. Tuning in tonight, early Sunday morning, late Saturday evening, seeing what conditions are like. Probably still some of the big stations up there on 3885, 3890, no doubt. How about SWL 64? SWL 65?
65, checking in.
Sounding good on the Old Tube Radio Network tonight. Thanks, Eric.
Thank you. Have a good one.
This is your Old Tube Radio Network. Real Radio's Glowing in the Dark, coming up after the directed net roll call. This is our 8th week of the 8-week roster. So we'll be reissuing some numbers, or restacking the numbers, and we should have some SWLs open next week for those who might want to plunge in onto the list. But as we say, you don't have to be on any piece of paper or any list or checked in at any time or even have an Old Tube Radio to key up and participate. I'd like to have everybody out there. SWL 66. SWL 67. SWL 68. I did see a Texas station. I don't think that's Thomas. Hello to Wichita Falls. SWL 69.
69, checking in, Dennis.
All right, 69 checking in. And I don't know, are you going to be able to pick us up in the long haul skip land?
I don't know.
All right, well, we will be listening for you, but in the meantime, keep on checking in because you're sounding good. SWL 70. Breaker, over.
I said right here.
Oh, okay, right here. I think like you said breaker, which is a perfectly okay thing to do here on 11 meters, or I guess any conversation. Right here and right there. 70 is checked in.
Thanks, Dennis.
And let's see, who would know this question? If you're listening, Harvey, maybe OBP, John in Iowa has a chance to complete a full set of Sam's CB manuals. Just looking for inputs on the possible value for the set. I guess the thing to do, even though I cringed even saying this, is to go on eBay and see if one is sold and see what somebody paid for it, although that's maybe not indicative of the true value. I think SWL 20, I think Harvey has a full set. The Old Tube Radio Network library, I'll have to go over, is pretty close to having a full set thanks to the diligence of Jim, SWL1, and then some help from Harvey. So not sure what a full set of Sam's CBs would go for, but certainly are helpful on the early ones, 1 through whatever, 20 or something for a lot of the radios we check in tonight, or we'll be checking in tonight. Next we go to SWL 71, who is around this evening. That's Stan in Dallas, Georgia, who has his old tube radios warming up and at the ready, just in case he hears us on 27085. Thanks, Stan. We've got SWL 72, SWL 73, SWL 74. Let's see, you're supposed to proxy in 74, which I will. SWL 75. SWL 77.
Good evening, Dennis, and all the listeners. 77 on the Tower of Power in the Tower District, waving a hand.
The Tower, there was something going on today because they had the streets detoured as they often do. I don't know if it was a car show. Maybe it was a car show. Something was going on. It was just down the street from the station, but we were not involved. So hopefully you didn't get caught up in any of that if you didn't want to. Sounding good.
Big car show. Yeah, it was crazy down there. Thank you very much.
Big car show with some of the cars that were brand new, when some of the radios that we'll be checking in tonight were brand new. So there were fins in chrome, and the fins in chrome of the radio set we'll be listening to in just a little bit. SWL 78. Heard this dude earlier, SWL 79. I'm going to give Philip a proxy check-in because I know he was in there earlier. How about SWL 80? Page 4, we're coming up on the tube radios in just a moment. SWL 81. And I'm going to give Steve Areno a proxy check-in. SWL 82.
82, checking in from western Iowa, yes, west. And we are on the other side of the ditch where the real glow-in-the-dark radios check in.
Where the trolley cars go, and there's even a bus stop out there somewhere, I bet, as well. Sounding good, Ron, from the Ditch Banks.
All right, Dennis, thanks.
And I will have to get my little 3x5 cards in the near future here, and we'll do a little talk about Biola. It actually is quite an interesting place. SWL 84.
84, good evening, Dennis. And all the SWLs out there, I'm getting my voice back, and it's also real nice eating solid food for a change. So we're on the mend for sure. So if you can check in on my girls at the appropriate time, I really appreciate it there, Dennis. Roger.
I will do that. Good to hear you on the radio, and I agree that you are sounding better. And what do they say? Food through a straw is overrated. Give me a fork and spoon anytime. Thanks for checking in.
Thank you, Dennis.
Out to Reedleytown for SWL 85. Sometimes we get a proxy. Let's see, who did I miss here? Hello to Ross in North Central Texas. I think we said hello. And the Bob and Steve Show in Ohio. Having some wine in the green room. I think it's wine and cheese. I know there's some type of wine going on there. The Jingle Singers, who I will be calling on in just a moment. So if you guys could just kind of give them a heads up that they will need to be stepping up to the microphoniums to get our tube radios started. Says they are crazy. You can join us after the show. No, I think I'm going to stay right over here where it's safe. On this side of the glass. It is much safer. We are going to check in SWL 86, SWL 87, and SWL 88. That would be the Mountain Maid, Tandy Girl, and Snowy Owl, respectively. Over to SWL 89. SWL 90 has a check-in, proxy check-in over to SWL 92. All right, 92 checking in from Madera, a little weak, but I think is the event still happening there, coming up in Madera? All right, good deal last Saturday of this month coming up. So see if I can't get the old jalopy headed north and pointed in the Madera direction for that event. Thank you, Chuck. SWL 93.
93 checking in, and good evening to all the SWLs out there.
And likewise, good evening, Louis. Thanks for checking into the old Tube Radio Network tonight. That takes us up to SWL 98.
Checking in, Dennis.
Thank you, Dave, Fresno Dave, checking in. Let's see if Jeff is out in the mobile with the radio on, SWL 103. Nothing heard there. Say hello to the Google bots listening in Mountain View. Checking us out, checking out Tube Radios. If the Google bots will stay with us, they'll be able to hear the Tube Radios. A station who is no stranger to Tube Radios out there in Independence, Kansas. Toby is listening in as well. And thanks for shooting us the photo of the compact Browning. We used it last week when it checked in. It may check in again at the end of the show here. Just not sure. Directed net roll call. The radios are coming right up if I keep it moving, which I will. Let's try SWL 109. SWL 110. Shortwave listener 111. All right, 111 checking in coming in on the Reedley Fluttermobile as we do a little bit of ground wave and sky wave and all those good things. I do hear you, sir. Thanks for staying up late to give us a real live check-in from Reedley Town. And Robert doing a good job tonight from Reedley, SWL 113. SWL 114.
114 checking in.
114. Hello, Wayne. The X is in the square. Thanks.
Thank you.
Shortwave listener 128. Let me scroll down and see if John Lee in Fairfax has jumped in yet. If he has, I'm missing it, so I'll keep an eye out for 128. That'll take us up to SWL 131. Shortwave listener 133.
Good evening, Dennis. 133 is checking in.
133 up there in northwest Fresno. Hi, Dave. Sounding good as always. We'll get you checked in.
Thank you.
SWL 135, who has a proxy check-in tonight. And likewise for SWL 137. SWL 145, Tony.
Can you proxy in 145, Tony, tonight?
I can do that. One of our good-sounding Course Gold stations, Tony. Get him checked in. Thanks for that. Let's see. Where are we going? SWL 147. That's our Kakalaki station. And Looks like Neil hasn't jumped in on the radio side tonight. I will keep an eye out open for Neil. This is the Old Tube Radio Network. The glow-in-the-dark radios are coming up next, thanks to our stations who do collect them and take time out of their Saturday evenings to jump in here. So don't go away. Also, hello to my glasses are not good for this small print. It looks like Ferd Gerbert, first-time listener. Well, welcome to the Old Tube Radio Network. We have been on the air here at 27085 Channel 11 for the last 33, 34 years on most Saturdays, doing just what you're listening to now, and even more of it when we start talking about and talking with the tube radios. We'd like to keep things going. It'll sound a lot like it did 40 years ago in just a moment. Thanks for listening in. Let's go back to the guy that got us started off, SWL 195. Of course, Gold Starliner. Thanks, Jim. And then we will see if Jeff is out there, SWL 226. And I was just about to ask for any stations I might have missed, and there is one right now over on page 1. Hello, 24.
24, checking in.
All right, perfect timing. We've got you checked in, and have a great evening. Any other stations that would like to get checked in on the shortwave listener side? Of course, you can do it any time. Well, we're here until 10:30 tonight, whatever time we sign out. And I'll be standing by. I've got to change a few things to get us into the tube radio mode of operation. I will be back in just a moment. And when I do, the Old Tube Radio Network will do what it does best, and that's talk with and talk about the tube radios.
I think there's somebody trying to break for you, Dennis. Yeah, go ahead. I think it's 650 up there. Okay, we hear you there, 650. Thank you for checking in with us. I don't know what happened to Dennis.
Yeah, that was 650.
All right, I think we are back. You are listening to the Old Tube Radio Network.
How do you do? Ladies and gentlemen, greetings to you. Wherever you are, your favorite spot on the dial by far is known to you as
OTR, the Old Tube Radio Network.
the station for you is
OTR.
We hope it's your favorite spot on the dial, at least for a couple hours on Saturday evenings. The Old Tube Radio Network here in Central California with some of the best of the classic tube radios from your Class D 11-meter Citizen Band radio service from 1958 to 1978 is when they were produced. It is now 2019, and they're still alive and well thanks to our collectors. So let me just say OTR is listening for radio number 1.
45.
25.
And I have to get my cheat sheet out here so I don't forget anybody. I had some nifty Post-it notes, and they're all used up. So, hello, Paul. Step up into the air chair. And Jerry, you're sounding good on your radio as well. So jump into the green room with, as they have been described tonight, the crazy jingle singers. And the whole group there. Have some fun, but keep an ear out because we'll be calling you soon for radio number 2. Hello, Paul. Can you hear net control? Over.
Yeah, I'm going to change route. Let the generals rest a little bit and start on the Brownings. This is my Golden Eagle Mark II Series B.
The Golden Eagle Mark II Series B. Sounding good. It has that Golden Eagle sound. And for the past, well, I say past weeks, but past months, you have been helping us out with the general radio telephones, which I guess aren't heard that much on the West Coast because they were built here in California. But I think everybody knows the Brownings. Give us a transmission on the Mark II Series B and tell us a little bit how many pieces in the set there.
Yeah, this, I guess you're getting ready for me on this thing. This is a two-piece radio. It's a Series B on the thing, and I've got a lot of attachments to go to this thing. This radio right I'm talking to is just a two-piece, not the other stuff hooked into it. It's a little shorter than the Mark III, about 6 inches shorter. It's got a smaller transmitter on the thing. But then he went on and did quite a few things, and I'll say about that. I'm sure you got something to say before I start on that.
Yeah, see if I get a picture shows what you're talking about. I think I've got one here. Let me get it centered up into the area, talking about the transmitter being a little bit smaller. If anybody's familiar with the Mark III sideband anyway. And there it is. Now, I do believe you could add, and what would Toby call it? The freight train effect, where you get the sideband adapter and some other items of interest to stretch that thing across the 6-foot table. But in its purest form, the Mark II with the transmitter and the receiver right there and the nice flying eagle on the speaker, over.
Yeah, that's the one. That's just like mine right here. I think it's got the on-the-air light, or does it, below the eagle? Huh. Yeah, maybe not. Yeah, it does. Yeah, I'm looking here at both of them. Yeah, it does. Just like mine, exactly. That's 2 pieces. And then what they have on mine, I've noticed it has, I want to say about the tubes. Both 3 hold 17 tubes on the 2-piece set. So anyway, this thing has a separate SSB-15 sideband transmitter on the thing with an X100 trans adapter. That adapter hooks them together and it puts it back to the main receiver. So when all you're all done with all this, you have 4 pieces and it goes over 3 foot long. We stretch them out. They had a good idea. They condense most of the stuff into 3s and the 4s now, so. And anyway, that's about it. I'm using a stock Browning electro-voice banana mic.
He answered my question before I asked him what microphonium that you are using, and it is the Electro Voice. Plenty of audio. It has a very sharp, high mid-tone to it, so it's got some good piercing audio that if you were not as strong as you were on my S-meter, I think I would still hear you quite nicely. Logging you in at 8:48. And that's Paul up in North Fork, so he is not too close. He's 30 or 40 miles away up in the foothills, beaconing down to Fresno. The Mark II Series B sounding good. And what was my other question? Do you have any modifications on the ping, or is it just stock? So you don't have to flip any switches to make it do anything?
Jumping on nothing. It's completely stock. Everything's completely stock. Everything is. Back to you.
All right, a good way to start us off. It is sounding good. Oh, you know what? I wanted to, and I'll switch over to the S meter. I'm trying to do that. I know it. When we switch cameras here, it does funky things to the audio. Give me another transmission so I can get the S meter on the video here.
Yeah, I mean, this is on, dead on, if I remember correctly. So, have you had enough time to get it?
That's it. Yeah, I was just giving you a signal report, but on the video side. So if you ever go back and watch the video, you can see your S8 and modulating up to S9. So indeed, you are on the Browning with, as we say, 9 pounds, good modulation, Chestnut and Herndon. A good choice to start things off here on the Old Tube Radio Network. Thanks, Paul.
Thank you, Dad.
Switch back to the control room here, and I want to say hello. If you're there, Jerry, go ahead and step up into the air chair. Put down the wine and cheese or whatever they're doing over there in the other studio, and we'll be right with you. I wanted to say hello and check in. SWL 147. Neil, you're not the only ones that has, including myself, that has trouble sometimes getting things checked in between Chrome and Facebook and browsers not allowing things to work. But whatever you switched to or switched over, it is now working, and I see your post. And if you're still listening, Paul, you get a triple thumbs up. I don't know how he does it, but a triple thumbs up from Toby, who is one of the online experts for the Browning, especially the Mark II. If you see any of his posts or pictures or pages, he's got a lot of them. So, good way to start things off. Speaking of which, I think that I may have heard another Browning in the wings. Hello, 25.
Hello, Dennis, and I fooled you, because this is not a Browning. It is a Holocrafters CB3A little phone, 8-channel transmit with a VFO, and with this one actually has the VFO and the meter that's bouncing all over the place in the front end of the thing, talking on a non-powered D104, and back to you, Dennis.
Pulling up a picture of the Hallicrafters, a Hallicrafters CB3A. Pretty good from the collection of SWL 135 Cliff. Well, I put my Hallicrafters back on the workbench behind the FT102 where it goes, but it did make its debut last week. I was going to go back and watch the video because I was, I guess, so enamored that it got some airtime that I don't even remember what I said or what I did. But your Hallicrafters is working well for Radio 2 tonight. Do you remember, maybe, did I ask you this last week? I don't remember. Do you recall where you got, how you picked up that little phone? Over.
Yeah, I believe I picked it up on eBay about 15, 20 years ago, and this one actually has a extra bank of tubes that's kind of built in on the side of it, and I'm quite certain they're receive tubes, because this thing just hears, I mean, it's next to the Browning Golden Eagle Mark III, it probably has the best ears of all the radios I have. So Yeah, it's kind of interesting. That probably have to take a picture of it one of these days, send it to you.
Yeah, please do. I have. Let me switch the control from the collection. Oh, no, the camera doesn't want to work. From the collection of SWL 37 of a. There it is, right behind all the junk up here. A Mark III. Or Mark III, a CB3A. I have a Mark III too. And we were doing some testing last week with, it's got great audio, but unfortunately it's probably the receiver I have that has the worst receive. So it makes me feel good that if I did some peeking and tweaking, that the receiver would probably come up and be as nice as yours. And as you know from our chats previously, Helicrafters was no stranger when it came to building top-notch receivers. So I'm sure they were able to put some of that technology into the CB3A. Back to you for another transmission. Over.
Okay, Dennis. You sound good. Paul, that Mark II, I'm glad he mentioned the trans adapter. Number 8 had a couple of Mark IIs, including the trans adapters. And did Paul say he had the trans adapter for it or did not have
it? No, he mentioned it. I thought he said he did have it, but I don't know if it was in line or hooked up to everything. But I thought he said that he did have it. Over.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, that's a cool radio. That Mark II. So, anyway, thanks for checking in the little phone from Helicrafters, CB3A, Dennis. Back to you.
Thanks for bringing it by. That's why we are here, doing what we do, because we like to let our operators drive these. It's like the car show. We occasionally have to bring out the old Pontiac and drive it around the block and start it up, take it off the trailer, and display it, let people come in and look through the windows and touch the knobs and all that stuff. So our radio operators do that for us with these radios from 1963, probably late 1962, but a big seller in 1963, the Helicrafters CB3A little phone. For radio number 2. It's the top of the hour. Let me go to, if I can get their attention. Yes, our jingle singers in the other room that tell us that this is your favorite place to be on a Saturday evening.
How do you do? Ladies and gentlemen, greetings to you. Wherever you are, the friendliest station for you by far is known to all and
OTR, the Old Tube Radio Network.
The station for you is
OTR.
The Old Tube Radio Network, 27085. That's our transmit frequency, our transmit and receive frequency here in Central California. And just seeing if we have any updates from Marina. Where is Marina, California? Somebody listening in. And Steve on the ICOM 7300 out there in Ohio listening at at 28085. Well, if you hear us there, I'm going to blame me because I know the 7300 is true. What you might hear is, I don't think you hear any beacons down there, but you might hear some CW. Be aware that the 7300 will pick up 29085. And SWL2 is out there. Kevin and I and SWL1 used to occasionally, and this would be back in the last 2 sunspot cycles ago, I guess it would be in 2000, 1999, 2000, 2001. We used to jump up to 29085. You remember that, Kevin? And we'd have an AM conversation between ourselves, and we were all within about 2 miles. But not quick keying, because we just knew that somewhere, somehow, one of the big iron stations was going to jump in from the Midwest or back east, and it happened quite often. So we got some great AM QSOs on the 10-meter AM window at 29085, and we're hoping maybe to do something like that again with our amateur radio operating friends across the states here. See if we can get some AM going. 10-meter AM is a lot of fun. We are listening for radio number 3.
Franco GR. 45.
And 45. Hello, Paul. Step up into the air chair. We'll be right with you, but I want to pick up the SWL check-in. Go ahead with the SWL check-in. Over.
Yeah, hello, Dennis. Just got back from Monterey. 53, checking in.
Back from Monterey, where I'm not sure if the weather was as good as it was here in Fresno today. I've got you checked in, Bob, and if Fresno Dave is listening, he might be interested in your Monterey weather report. How are things out there today?
It was pretty fair, pretty well. A little windy, but it was okay there, Dennis. We had a lot of fun.
That's the name of the game, and the fun continues here on the Old Tube Radio Network. Thanks for checking in.
Thank you.
Speaking of checking in, back to the Old Tube Radio list, radio number 3 at 9:03. That's Pacific Daylight Time, the Old Tube Radio Network. Hello, Paul.
Hey, Dennis, you're going to like this radio here. This is a Regency Imperial.
Oh, yeah, I like it already. My first Old Tube Radio. We'll talk about the Regencies. I'll try not to give my story again, but that is the straight Imperial. Is that correct? Regency Imperial. They made it 2, but I want to guess that you are on the straight Regency Imperial. Over.
Yeah, well, I'll just go through a few things here. It's a manufactured date 1967. It's sold for $299, which was a heck of a deal. I'll tell you, this is a big radio. It's got 13 tubes in this thing, 23 channels with AM, LSB, and USB. Now, this is actually compatible SSB-ZS8, I think it is on the thing. If I'm reading that right. You know that DSB. DSB is what they're saying. That's what it is. Yeah, on the front there. And it's got a gold crown on the thing, right in the middle of it. Neat looking radio. Back to you.
Is a great radio. That one also has a great receiver. It's narrow though because it was sideband. So if you get you've got a RVFO somewhere in there, and if you turn it too much one way or the other, typically you will make the station you're listening to sound like upper or lower sideband, because that's what you will be listening to. Also, the DSB AM, double sideband AM, but it also runs like a double sideband suppressed carrier. I've been fishing here to find a really nice picture of a Regency. Who is it? I think it's Stan. Somebody's got gave us a good shot of a Regency, and it wasn't able to find that one. His might have been the Imperial too. That's the one with the green front. But here's the Regency Imperial. And we'll talk about, 23 channels. I started on a realistic Navajo, and when I got the Regency Imperial, the one thing that I didn't like, but I soon got used to, was on the Navajo, you could turn the channel selector around and around, so you go from 1 to 23. When you got on the Regency, when you got to channel 23, you had to go back all the way through all the other channels on the selector to get back to channel 1, and I used to like to channel hop a lot, so that... I was always afraid I was going to break that dial off, turning it back and forth. Over.
Yeah, it does do some crooked in there for sure. I agree with you on that. No, this thing's got all kinds of goodies on the front. It's really, you can tune this thing right from the front. I mean, tune the power of the wattage on the thing. And it's got ANL, LSB, USB, AM, all the switches right on the front of the thing. And believe it or not, it's got a toggle switch for the on, which they've always had that. I don't blame them because that's a solid switch. Anyway, that's about it. It does have good receive, too. Back to you, Dennis.
Does have good receive. The audio is mellow. On the Regencies, it's easy to... they're like Brownings. You can pump a lot of audio into them, and it just pushes the carrier up. It doesn't flat top at all. It almost starts sounding like sideband. If you really overdrive it, and people might say that think you're on sideband, but you've got it very mellow. For those who are looking at the picture or the video, the S meter had 3 selections: S, V, and C. When it's on the S, it'd give you the S meter. When it's on the V, it's the voltage, like plate voltage, I believe, and then the SVC. The C was the current, and that's how you would, with the final control, you'd go to the current, and I believe you would dip. I think that's how it worked. You'd dip the current, you'd dip the final, and which would give you the max output. But like Paul was saying, you could take the thing out of resonance there and transmit it about 100 milliwatts if you rotated that final knob around. And does yours do this? Mine, I believe, if all the lights were working, when you key the microphone, when you key up the transmitter, does the S meter turn red?
Yes, it sure does. Well, mine's not real red. The bulb is a little weak on the thing. It's kind of a pinkish red on the thing, but it does change color.
I can't remember if they had a red bulb or there was a red gel around it. It's probably a painted bulb, so the paint starts fading or flaking off. And I think the other light goes out, the main light, and then the red light comes on. And like you mentioned, there is, I think it's on the right side. There are 3 holes, and I'm trying to remember. God, it's been so long. One of them was an S meter control, one was the audio, and one was the power, I think. But it was easy to tweak in that. And then mine had a little tiny opening in the top cabinet because it's a mesh. You don't have a top view, but the cabinet is meshed, so you could get the little tweaker down there. And I was always making sure that my sideband control was at 10 o'clock and 2 o'clock. Like one was 10 o'clock for the upper sideband and 2 o'clock for the lower sideband, but you could dial it in. If you had a station that was right on frequency, you could have them, throw a carrier and then go and tweak your RVFO so it'd be right online. So I always had fun doing that. Regency Imperial double sideband AM, as Paul mentioned, from 1967. So one of the first, not the first, because that was from General Radio Telephone, but when sideband on the American-made radios started coming from Tram, they were double sideband. This is also a double sideband transmitter. Receives upper and lower, but transmits on double sideband. And that was a problem on channel 16, which was the sideband channel back then, and people started putting in VFOs and moving around because the RC channel was next to 16. I got in trouble a lot with my double sideband because I was taking up 6 kilohertz of space, and those who were starting to move around didn't like that extra bandwidth. So they're a little tough. They sounded good on sideband, but a little tough to run with the double sideband, but still perfectly legal. If you're still there, Paul, I've talked too much. I want to hear the Regency one more time, and what I will do, as promised, I'll go into the episode so you can give your check if you watch the video playback. Back to you on the Regency Imperial.
Oh, you bet. I'm glad to talk about it. I'm talking on the stock Regency non-amplified microphone manufactured by Turner. It's looks like M+2Us with the blue front on the thing, but it's not amplified. That's about it. I mean, it's just, I tell you, it's just a super radio for the money. It really was a good deal. Back to you.
37.
And hello, Chris. We'll be right to you. Yeah, it was a good deal. I paid for mine, and I don't. It's in the other side of the shack here, and I don't have a way to get a shot of it, but I have a very nice picture of a Regency Imperial on the 30-year anniversary plaque for the old tube radio network, because that was my first tube radio, and the tube radio I used when those of us who had tube radios used to pop down here on Channel 11. Kevin on his Buddy, and on the, what else did you have? The Browning, and Jim was on the Brownings, and I think Richard was on his, Jim was on the General Radio Telephone. I think Richard Cucumber was on the General Radio Telephone, and who is it? Chigger used to come down on the Browning radio. But anyway, back in the day here on Channel 11, that's the radio I use, but I've got the 30-year plaque that shows the Regency Imperial, and I paid $71 for mine in 1972, I think, from a guy that got it, and his wife wouldn't let him keep it because he had an Olsen sidebander, which is basically almost the same radio. It's like a Regency range gain, which is what the Imperial is. The Imperial is the Regency range gain with a product detector and an extra tubes to make the sideband run. So Thanks for that. Let's see. Oh, I wanted to check in SWL 128 while I have the key down here. Hello, John Lee. He got lost in a movie. That happens on Saturday evenings. That's perfectly acceptable. But thanks for sneaking away. Don't get yourself into trouble if you're supposed to be distributing the popcorn for the movie. But thanks for checking in. We'll get you on the list. And stepping up for radio number 4 is Christopher. Hello, radio.
Hello, Dennis. And my Ico Sentinel Pro back then, too.
The, let's see, not the thrift store, the other special, the trash can special.
Exactly. But anyway, this is the thrift store special here. I want to check in my general radio telephone. The Super MC11A 24-channel version of this here. And we are running this here with a non-amplified stock microphone.
Are you sure there's not a battery in that microphone somewhere that's and a big knob that's turned up to 11?
Well, let me see. You know, I don't see a knob on this thing.
Probably not necessary with, what's the complement there? The 12AX7 and the ECLL 800 and whatever General Radio Telephone did on their Super Master Control series to make them sound the way they do. That one definitely standing the test of time. I'm going to swap over on the video so people can see what it is that you're talking on as you take another transmission over.
You know, I didn't have to slap it. I didn't have to punch it. I didn't even have to holler at it. It came on, it was right on frequency. Everything was working fine, so it's doing what it's supposed to.
Like it does almost every week. That radio is pretty flawless for our number 4. We're logging in at 9:12 and pretty much effortless. You don't have to shout. You don't have to do anything except key it up.
Well, that's the way it's supposed to be. Just key it up and go for it.
And we are glad you did. That is a 9-tube transceiver. See, we're talking about Sam's PhotoFax earlier, trying to, who was it? John is trying to, Mighty Juliet Whiskey trying to get his collection together. I'm sure he probably has the CB22. If you go to CB22 in your Sam's collection, page 45, we'll tell you all about the General Radio Telephone Super MC11A. Give us a transmission. Thanks for bringing it by.
You betcha, Dennis. I'll try to get another one in here in a little bit. We're doing a few things around here, but we will see what we can do. So thank you, Dennis. I'll talk to you a bit, hopefully.
And this is the Old Tube Radio Network. Real radio's glowing in the dark, and we are listening for Radio 5. I can hear you, Paul, over.
Okay. This time the check in here is I can look at the radio. I think I checked in before. By Pierce Simpson Export.
Pierce Simpson. I see Stan's ears perking up. We'll talk about that. The audio is a little weak, and it's fading. It was fading in and out, so I'm not sure if that's a proximity item to the microphonium or if there are some other items. There is a Pierce Simpson Companion and a Companion 2. You said you had the Companion over?
Yes, I have a Companion.
All right, looking to see. Oh, we actually have the photo from your collection. We've got one from Reggie Hulsey. And then we've got the one from your collection. So that's what I'm going to jump into first. What a great looking radio. Really, I always liked the Pierce Simpson. They just had this mid-century modern classic classic look. It looks more like an AM table radio if I didn't know any better. Bring it up the stream, and maybe you can make waffles out of that speaker grill. Here we go. Back to you for a transmission, and stay into the microphone because the audio's a little weak over.
Yeah, we're a little confused there. This here's an escort that Christian got his companion, I believe. Is that correct?
Yeah, you know what? I'm blowing it here. So let me try this again. This is trying to see if I can get the right shot. Take 2. All right, that's a cool radio. This is also a cool radio. Jumping into the escort. All right, now that still has the look of a tabletop broadcast radio, sort of. Back to you.
Yeah, that's the one on top. That's the right radio. That's the one I'm talking on right now. But it sure doesn't look like that. I wish it did. Well, if you wouldn't believe what this full radio has done to it, somebody put on a full gainer on the microphone. The big old box that hangs right on kind of like on the bottom front. And it's got a giant box itself, just a regular metal box on top. I haven't figured out what it does yet. I'm scared to get into it. I can't believe the poor thing's looking, but I'll tell you what, the receive on is good, and I think the transmit's pretty good. Back to you.
Transmit is good. It's the audio that is a little weak. Doesn't have a lot of high mid-range to punch it out. I'm also going to do, on your next transmission, I wonder if you're off frequency, maybe that's what I'm hearing. I'm going to do a frequency check. Got to get over to the receiver here and see where you are. Let's talk about the radio. It's interesting because I see the S meter that reminds me of the Pierce Simpson Guardian, the real small meter, but sort of the same one. This came out in 1964. It might have been, there was a trio of Pierce Simpson. This might have been one of them with the Guardian. Has kind of the same look. And then there's looks like a colored squares above the S meter. So talk a little bit about that if those do anything. And while you're taking a transmission, I'll see where your frequency is. Over.
Yeah, I'm not picking up all that. This got the band tuning on the thing. It's got the string tuner on the thing. And you tune the thing, and it goes doesn't change color, but it does have the lights up top. There's different radios. I don't know what the sun on the thing back to you.
Yeah, all right. As I suspected, you are at 27082.5. So a little low on frequency. Anybody, especially if you're listening in on a Regency Imperial, you will have to take that RVFO and crank it over to the right. And the station, he will no longer sound like sideband. So I'm running really wide on my receiver just for that purpose, but it is low on receive. Also, it just seems like as you talk, the audio fades out just a little bit or dumps down a little bit. So I'm not sure if that's an issue with the tubes. I was looking to see if I had the tube complement on that, and I don't. The question, and you may have told me, but I was probably jumping around doing other stuff. I see that it looks like it has a 23-channel receive tunable. Would you know if it's 23 transmit or how many channels are on the transmit? Over.
That's tunable on the thing. VFO receiver on the thing. And what else is that on the thing? Yeah. It's 8 crystal controlled transmit channels on the thing. So we've got 8 crystals in the thing. That runs right on top of it. The VFO's in the middle, and right on the top it shows the channel number 7, 9, all that. So that'd be the crystals on top. So it's pretty. That everything's put right in there, brand neat. That's you.
That's what I thought. It was $229. I'm switching over to the ad, and this is the one I remember. I thought it was part of the trio from 1964-65. See your PS dealers. And some of the radios actually did have the PS rather than Pierce Simpson on there. And the trio was the Companion 2. The first radio I brought up was the Companion, but the Companion 2 was their lesser priced $190 radio. The Escort, the one you're on, was the middle line, probably with the 23-channel tunable receive, and that was at $229. And then the Pierce Simpson Guardian 23 was their top of the line at $300, which is what, the same price or a similar price to the Regency Imperial a couple of years later, but it also was 23-channel transmit receive and had some other items going on as well. So the middle of the Pierce Simpson trio from 1964, you've got the Escort, is doing a good job, good signal. I'll make a note that it is low enough on frequency maybe to cause issues with somebody that has a tight receiver. And the audio is good, but it is weak, and sometimes it fades in and out, so that could be another issue with a tube. Back to you for a transmission.
Okay, have a little interference here, no problem. Well, that's about it for the radio. Thanks for checking it in, Dennis.
All right, back to the picture of the Escort from Pierce Simpson. Doing a good job for Radio 5. Thanks for bringing it by tonight. And Ray, I would, maybe I should go back to that. And Ray asked if the Pierce Simpson that I showed earlier had a Bakelite cabinet. It's hard to say for 1964. If it was 1944, I would almost say indeed it was. But for let me go back to it. And here's a different shot. 1964. I'm thinking it sure does have that look. I'm going to think it's plastic, but I could be wrong. There is the shot, and it has that look. That's a different. It's almost too red, you know. The other one had that brownish color, and that's the same thing I was thinking. So me thinks no, but I've been wrong before. In fact, I'm always wrong. This is your Old Tube Radio Network. Speaking of wrong, the Jingle Singers are agreeing and would like to tell you more about the Old Tube Radio Network.
You're listening in the latest style at
27.085 megahertz. Channel 11, Old Tube Radio.
In wonderful
Fresno, California.
Wonderful Fresno, California, Valley. A lot of the stations that you hear tonight. I'm transmitting from Fresno, but a lot of the stations you hear tonight are from all over the central San Joaquin Valley. Joining the Old Tube Radio Network, and hello to TB40 Ford from the Bluegrass State. Listening in, we're standing by for radio number 6. And station listening in from Marina, California. I'm not familiar with Marina, California, where it's partly cloudy right now. 54 degrees in the 93933 area code. And Marina is, as you would think, on the coast, just north of Monterey Pacific Grove. Sounds like a nice place, probably because it is. Might be able to hear you if you were running like 1,000 watts on an 8-element beam and pick you up on the backscatter from here in Fresno. OTR listening.
37.
Hello, Chris. Over.
and under and overdone. Sometimes undermodulated, sometimes overmodulated, but hopefully we're just right. I want to check in my G PowerMate, the Gem Marine Products. It's the Pretty Blue one. And I'm running this here with the amplified D104 Lollipop. Over.
Well, because I'm kind of a nice guy, we'll check that in at 9:27. It is Radio 6. We do have a shot of that, of a G PowerMate, and I think it is from your collection. So I'll dial it in, and I know you will get a few of your radio fans applauding that one here tonight that are listening in. Give us another transmission.
Oh, yeah, well, since I heard you was talking to Ray there over the internet, but over the air internet, something like that, and I guess I figure he would like to hear the Pretty Blue one.
I think we all would. Always good audio with that radio. One of the Panasonic chassis clones of the early 1970s. You just can't go wrong, depending on what flavor of knobs and dials you get on the Panasonic chassis. But this one works quite well. Sounding good. Over.
Well, if we went by the color of the knobs on this thing, so it'd be the flavor, it'd be black licorice.
Yeah, with a helping of blueberry something. Not too many blue radios. I noticed, looking at the channel selector, some are green and some are not green. So when you're on the main channel, does it go to the not green color, or is it just channel 11 isn't green?
No, it goes to not colored. It comes out kind of a white color. When it's on each side of it, it would be green. It's a green plate, up there see-through, and then right in the center, it is clear. So what you see is a clear white channel 11.
Got it. Oh, great. So it gets in that little Q window. It's like wearing those 3D glasses. You have to have the various colors. Sounds good. The meter will give you S or RF. That's the one odd thing I thought, because typically the way the S meters are set up, when you're receiving, it is an S meter. When you're transmitting, it is an RF meter. Did I ask you this before? If it's set on S, when you transmit, what happens? What does the meter do?
Well, let's see. Let me get my glasses on here and make sure what I got it on. All right. Let's see. I got it pushed down. All right. It's pushed down on the RF side, and it's showing forward swing. Now, let's see. I push over to the S side, and it shows nothing. So that'd be the signal strength coming from the other side. So this is the RF out. So it's showing swing, swing, swing.
Okay, interesting. So if you have it on S, when you transmit, you get nothing. When you have it on RF, when you get receive, you get nothing. That's just a very odd way to do that. And I'm not sure the method to the madness. You do have the TX-RX. So I suppose even if you had one or the other of the meters selected, your lights would tell you that everything was okay, whether you were red or green.
Yes, you are green, I am red. Yeah. When you was talking, it was in the green mode. When I'm talking, it's in the red mode. So, yeah, but it's on a blue radio.
And it has a fine tune. I'll have to see if some of the other ones that were Panasonics had the fine tune, because each radio out of that chassis had different front panel things going on. I just noticed that it had the fine tune, so we'll check some of the other ones. Radio number 6, it's sounding good as it always does from Gem Marine Products, the G PowerMate. Give us another transmission, and thanks for bringing it by the old tube radio tonight.
Okay. Now, on my other radio, I have another radio similar to this one here. It's the Chris 20. Now, on that one there, RF and S on that one there also. And on this, on the other one, instead of having a fine tune, it says band spread.
Oh, so they do have it. They just, weren't allowed to use the names. And that's the other thing you find, the S-meter switches and the PACB switches or the range boosts. Sort of like each manufacturer that took that chassis had to agree to do this or that, or the other people say, no, we've got the range boost, so they have to get the PACB switch. I guess it all made sense. You are sounding great on your Radio 6 tonight.
Okay. Well, since this here is sounding great, the other one is warmed up. I am going to switch over to that one.
Please do. We enjoy as many radios as possible. Way it might have sounded back in 1972 or 73 when these radios were brand new, checking in. Anybody remember how it was done when I first got into CB radio down in the Los Angeles area, where the bands were all the channels were quite busy. And you would have a conversation between two or three stations typically, and it would go for 5 minutes. And at the end of 5 minutes, I don't know if this was an FCC thing or a gentleman's agreement, the stations would sign off, and then somebody else would take the channel and have a conversation for 5 minutes or so, and then sign off, and it would go along like that, so you could accommodate a lot of stations talking to each other. Sometimes they would get into the round table situations where you'd have 4 or 5 people doing that, but that's sort of how it was. And then if someone broke, they were breaking either to make a call and to take a station that was listening off to another channel, or if they broke in, they were breaking into the current 5-minute conversation. It was very rare to have somebody break in and just start talking to somebody else. So it was all quite formal before, I'm talking, late 60s and early 70s. And then later on, those of us who remember, it got kind of wild after 4 million people were trying to be on the air at once. OTR standing by looking for Radio 7.
37.
And 37 with Radio 7 at 9. My clock, I've got one of those big LED clock, and it's fallen down behind the other audio board. So I think it's 9:34. That's what time I will log you in, Chris. Go ahead.
Okay, well, this is the other one that I was talking about when we was on the other one. So this is the other one from that one. This is the Chris 23 Plus. 23 channel tuber, glows in the dark, and we are running this in here with the non-amplified original handheld stock microphone.
And I believe we sort of tested that long ago back in the day and decided that was probably the best combination. All right, so this would be the same chassis. I put the picture up. It's got the S-meter. It has a switch underneath which I can't read. It only has one light for the modulation, so they took out one of the lights. Like you said, it's got a band spread, and then it's got the PACB. So if you look inside, very similar. If you look outside, there's a few less. There's one less light. And I'm not sure about what's going on with the meter thing, and I didn't pay attention to see if the other one had a headphone jack on it or not.
Well, it don't have a headphone jack on the front of it. Honestly, I don't know. Is there one on the back of that? Let me look. See if that's got a headphone jack in the back of of that one there. Let me see here. Get up over here, stick my head behind it. Let's see. Is there room for me to stick my head behind it? There is a headphone jack in the back. I guess that's what that is. Sure looks like it could be. Yes, it is. Or for another speaker if you wanted to plug it in. That's what it says on the back of it.
Which would make sense because this one has the PACB, so it's probably the output for the CB or the PA speaker, or the audio output of the radio for headphones. So the other one they put it in the back. Interesting. See, they have all the same stuff. They just kind of mix it around and leave some things out and some things not out. I do have the tube complement, which is 11 tubes for that AM plate modulated Panasonic chassis, 5 watts input, it says. All 6-volt tubes? No, it has a 12AX7 in the audio. I think that's why it sounded good. Okay. So all 6-volt tubes, a 12AT7, a 12AX7, and it will run 12-volt DC with the proper power cord. For our friends with the giant CB Photo Sam's collections, this would be your book number 45. So we're getting up to the mid-1970 radios at CB 45, and this is on page 89 for the Chris 23 Plus. And oldtuberadio.com also has an operator's manual. So back to you for a transmission, and thanks for bringing by Radio 7. Over.
You betcha. Yeah. I actually forgot to turn the other one on. I reached over while we were talking and turned the other one on. So in a few minutes, I will be talking on that other one.
All right, a few minutes is good. Jingle singers are standing by, but I think there was a breaking station that I'd like to pick up. I also want to say hello, radio, to Tim Tron up there in the Pacific Northwest, who's saying hello to Net Control and all the ships at sea here on the Old Tube Radio Network. And who was the breaking station? Over.
Number 20.
Oh, number 20. How did I not recognize your melodious, mellifluous voice? Go ahead, sir.
Okay. Here's one I haven't checked in a while. I did get the compact off the bench, and it's back where it was before. But this is the Buddy TX11, RC11, not the B model, but the first one, the TX11 RC11.
Looking to see if I have a combination shot. Yes, I do. In fact, it is. I think this is your radio. It says Buddy TX11 and RC11. It doesn't have. Let me switch. I know the audio goes wonky. Let me the picture, which I can't get everything in, but we'll show the transmitter receiver. It doesn't have the on-the-air thing, but it looks like a different speaker box. Are we looking at the same thing here? Over.
Roger, you're looking at the same thing. That radio. The speaker box is essentially the same, but it's doesn't have the on-the-air light. The receiver looks the same, except obviously it's got gold and black graphics, where the TX11B's got black and white graphics. So because of that, I have a black and gold Night Eagle mic hooked up to it. The transmitter is 5-channel. They made a 5-channel one and a 22-channel one. I have the 5-channel one. It's got smaller tubes in there, a 6360 final, 68Q5 modulator. It's got the diode pack in there for the regulator and such. And the tubes in there are the same as Paul's Baby Buddy TX11B 23-channel one that he does have. This one's got the same tubes, although his final is a 6CL6, which my 6360, I believe, is the industrial equivalent. Anyway, the receiver is a little different inside, which is a major problem because it was blown up when I got it, and I barely have it working now, just enough to hear you.
Well, I'm not very strong. This station's sort of in the mud anyway. I had put up the S meter because I looked over and was like, you're like in the noise, but you're not. You're at S7 modulating to S8, but my noise level is about S6 to S7, but your audio is really good. You can tell the buddy is doing what it's supposed to do. It's really clear and sharp and punchy. So for a signal that is an S unit above the noise, you sound stronger than the S meter purports to be. So don't worry about any range boosts, because I'm just hearing you fine, but I just wanted to do, that's a good testament to how the Buddy Bass is supposed to work with the great audio that it has. Over.
Little oscillator problem in the transmitter. It starts low and goes up. It does have its own built-in range boost because it's got the diode pack. So look at your S meter right now. There you go. My audio probably dropped a little bit because I've got it to the medium.
Well, no, it was enough. You're enough in the noise, or above the noise floor, that if the audio did drop, the bringing the signal up out of the full noise floor helped and makes it sound good. It's usually when you have, you're close and you have like a 15 or 20 over signal, you do something like that. You go to 25 and you can, the audio is not quite there, but it's still there. I've got the S meter up, key up again.
There we go. Hello. Yeah, it's working.
Yeah, it gives you an S unit. What is that, 6 dB, 3 dB, another 3 to 6 dB of carrier, which is good. It gets you into the more full quieting mode. And the audio is still good. It maybe quality-wise, it doesn't have the sharpness, but it's still fine. And I could hear you either way with whatever you did. I know there was a penchant to beef those up with the 6L6 and some other things, but I think the big tube didn't fit in there very well.
Oh yeah, there's not much you can do with this one. 6360, which is 6L6 and a 6AQ5 for the modulator. But anyway, well, since we're on OTR, if anybody out there knows where I can get an RC11 receiver, or at least the schematic for the RC11, not the 11B, but the 11, I would appreciate it. You can get a hold of me through OTR or whatever, because as I said, this was kind of blown up on the receive side, and I had to kind of figure out with no schematic and no other chassis to go by other than the 11B schematic and chassis, which is a little different, what to do. The squelch is totally different. The way they hooked up the S meter is totally different. So I had a problem, but I finally got it to receive so I could hear you. Not as well as I'd like, but, it does work. So if anybody knows, let me know. Okay, back to you, and I'll do one more.
All right. The only person I knew that had Buddy was Kevin, but he had the B, the RC11B. So, all right, something to look for, but you've slogged your way through it enough that it sounds great, and hopefully you'll be able to listen to the archives or watch the video and hear that for yourself. Pre and post S-meter amplification. It's a beautiful looking radio. I'm going to say from those I talked to, the Buddy transmitter was always far superior than the receiver between the two combinations, from what people tell me. So maybe you need to pair it with the Browning. Who knows? Thanks for radio number 8, and then Chris has probably got one for us. I wanted to say hello to Captain Keyboard. Hello. Yeah, still here. We're still here after all these years. And TJ, All right, TJ is back on the video side, checking in. Good to have you aboard tonight as well, here on the Old Tube Radio Network.
7.
Hello, Chris. Do you have Radio 9?
Yes, actually it's 1, 2, 3, 4. It's radio number 4.
It's your Radio 4, our Radio 9.
Okay, we'll let it go at that then. All right, I want to check in my Courier Royale 23-channel tuber glows in the dark with the blinking lights. This here's got 3 lights on it, you know. Got one by the S meter, then one by the channel dial, again, right next to the sensitivity or for the quieting knob, and then all the way over there to the TV switcher there. And so, you know, those 2 on each side, they blink a little bit. That one just flickers, but this here blinks. My mod light. So it shows up modding. But anyway, it's one with all the knobs on it, and it's even got the hidden knob in the back for the audio, for the mic gain. But we're running this in here with the amplified D104 Lollipop.
Good combination, sounds good. Courier, they're top of the line. I think that was their final tube radio. Back in the days when, like Ferd mentions, you would pop the top on that and mark everything down and wrap up the tubes and walk over or pedal over or drive the station wagon over to either the local drugstore or the supermarket. Just about, like you said, just about everybody had a tube tester stuffed away somewhere. Sometimes they had 2. A friend of mine said you always said if they had 2 tube testers, check them in both, because typically some of the drugstores didn't keep the tube testers up very well, and, you know, kids would come by and spill a chocolate malt down into the socket. So he said if you had a chance to check your tubes in both of the tube testers, see if you got the same reading. Not that you need to test your tubes, because I think you sound marvelous on radio number 9, over.
Well, you know, actually, I think even Safeway Market had a tube tester at one time.
Yeah, I worked at it was like a Target back in the early 70s. It was called, what was it called? Disco Fair? 2 Guys. I think it was called 2 Guys. And we had a tube tester, and I was like one of the only person that even knew what a tube was. So whenever somebody was jumping around on the tube tester and having trouble, they always would call me over to help them with the knobs. And then it'd have the doors underneath and the big metal thing, and you'd have the key and open the door, and there might be a selection of 7 tubes. Never the one that somebody wanted. Like, yeah, that tube is bad, and you'd open the door and see what you had. It's pretty sorry. I mean, it was. I just wonder if those were provided by somebody. You know, if somebody came by with their truck, like pinball machine, says, yeah, we'll rent you this thing, and it'll generate X amount of dollars with the tubes, and then nobody knew what the heck was going on with that. So anyway, your tubes are fine. Radio 9, the Courier Royale, all 23 channels, and every deluxe thing that Courier could throw into it.
Yeah, and you know, this thing just keeps on working too, so I'm not complaining with it.
As well you should. No complaints necessary. I think you've got the microphone set, and is that the one that has the mic gain in the back, or doesn't have a mic gain or something? But everything is set. No need to touch the dial.
Yeah, it's got 6 knobs in the front, 7 counting the channel dial, and 1 in the back for the modulation.
Doing a good job. And Ray says, Foodland. I forgot about Foodland. Had a tube tester. Long's Drugs, probably. I might have used the ones at Long's. At West and Ashland had one, too. But, so yeah, just about everybody has. I'm thinking it was one of those things that somebody owned the franchise and just came around with their pickup truck and said, here's the tube tester, and we'll rent it to you, and you get the money from the tubes. And hopefully people know what they're doing when they come in, because you won't. Thanks for bringing by the Courier.
Okay, I think even the Longs down there on the Fulton Mall had one.
Yeah, it was, in the 60s and 70s, all the TVs had tubes, all the radios had tubes, and except that, that solid state stuff was going around. But it was one of those things, it was sort of like you could do it yourself. You could kind of... Back when you didn't pump gas, no one would think about going and pumping their gas. The guys would come out and get in trouble and put you back in the car. But at some point, the guy that would show up in the van with the service tube caddy, people got brave and said, "Well, I can do that. I can pull out the tube and stick it in the socket and not kill myself." So maybe that's how things started. That's about it. Over to the Jingle Singers are jumping up and down here. We missed a couple of cues, so we're going to go to the Jingle Singers. Over.
Okay, you go ahead and get those guys out there. They got to make some money for those cookies they keep eating. If Bozo don't get to them first. But all right, Dennis. You have a good one. This was my last, so I will be listening on the wood.
All right, well, cookies. Steve was saying they've got wine and all sorts of stuff going on over there, so I don't know where they get the budget to do that. And I might say that the CB3A behind my right shoulder got some airtime earlier. I think it was earlier this week, when Jerry and Dennis were on this channel, believe it or not, doing some OTR, old tube stuff, and I fired that thing up and we ran it through the audio board. And I got very, very good reports on the transmit side. So add that to your number 5. The Hallicrafters was definitely on the air this week. You are listening to the Old Tube Radio Network.
What are the magic numbers?
27.085 megahertz, channel 11.
Are the magic letters?
OTR.
Right here in
Fresno, California.
Radio Magic.
Old Tube Radio.
For you.
Late check-in.
Number 7 with a not quite so late check-in. What did I do with the papers? Well, we'll get you on the big board under SWL7. Who would have thunk?
Thank you. Yep, got my grandkid over, so I'm kind of busy.
I bet. All right, well, thanks for jumping into the radio room. Maybe by chance to keep things from being toppled over, but you are checked in. Who's still with us on the big board? Hello to Spokane, Washington. Is that I don't know if that's might be Tim Tron. Haven't heard any of the E-Skip. I know they got some reports a couple nights ago that they were getting some on sideband, but you just never know. OTR standing by. All right, here's a question for you Central Valley people. Do you remember the name of the electronics store? This is Ray's asking. On the northeast side of Dakota and West. I'm trying to think Dakota and West. What's there now? Who remembers? Are you listening, Harvey? Who remembers the name of the electronics store on the northeast side of Dakota and West in Fresno? They might have had some tired tubes there. And somewhere I saw the note that we needed to get John 85 proxied in, and I have done that.
Let's do some spelling.
OTR. 27.085 megahertz. Channel 11, Old Tube Radio. Old Tube Radio.
Looking for Radio 10 as we're counting and amounting here on the Old Tube Radio Network. A late check-in from the Black Horse Militia up there in Seattle, Washington, following the tornadoes sweeping through the south, hopefully not doing too much damage. And Mr. OBP is heading that away. Thanks, as always, Kevin, for your input. And, yeah, looking forward, maybe we can, I don't know what you've got radioactive for 10 a.m., but I have to do that 29085, I forgot about that. I have to do that here coming up when our sunspots get a little bit more than 11 to 14, maybe more like 84 to 100. That should work. And that is Mr. Harvey out on the west side. Hello, radio.
Number 20 here. The R68T68, the old standby. The second Browning I was able to acquire. Got this one here. Sometime around, I don't remember. Oh, probably 80, 81, somewhere around then. Anyway, R68T68 with the Browning medallion on the back of the microphone. The so-called $459 microphone that guy on eBay wants for his. I didn't pay that much. Came with the radio. Anyway, this is the one with the on-air transmitter and the 3-position RF gain switch on the receiver. I also have the spot transmitter and the RF gain receiver, but that's in another room. Okay, that should do it for me tonight. Catch you in 2 weeks. And hopefully someone out there might be able to scrounge up a Buddy RC11 that I'll purchase from them so I can figure it out.
We will be looking for that. Let's rewind a little bit. You're saying someone is wanting $400 just for the microphone? Does the radio come with it?
Nope. the very rare, hard to find, unamplified static D104 with the Browning medallion on the back. This guy, you know, he has a so-called closed CB shop way back east that I try and look up and can't seem to find exactly where the shop is, but apparently it's closed and he's working out of his house. Anyway, he's got a bunch of radios for very high prices, but they may be pristine. And he's got at least one of these mics that's been on eBay for a couple of years for $459.
Just waiting for that person that's got to have it for their collection. It seemed like it would be, that's the price for the microphone we'll throw in the radio for free. Well, glad you got yours when you did. R68, T68, Browning Golden Eagle. I've got two questions before you go. One is not related to anything we've been currently talking about, but you might know since you hung out in a TV kind of place. Steve's TV and Appliance Repair. You remember that for Fresno? Steve's TV. Do you remember where that was?
I remember the name. I don't remember where it was. And by the way, it was 5 minutes on, 1 minute off.
5 months. Okay, that's right. If you were, I'm going to say if there was no other traffic or conversation going on, then you could get away with that. You could go with the 5 and the 1 and the 5. But boy, in L.A., in the Southern California area, the channels were so busy. You took a 5, and when you went off for 1, you were lucky to get back in half an hour, because it would just go to the next 5 and the next 5 and the next 5. But I think that sounds familiar, that the 5 on and then 1 off just to clear out and then continuing on. We kind of do that. I don't think we spend more than 5 minutes sometimes on these transmissions. Sometimes we do, but that's okay. Because it's just a once-a-week kind of thing here on Saturdays, the Old Tube Radio Network. Radio 10, thanks for the R68, T68, Browning Golden Eagle. The other question I have, and maybe in 25 words or less, when they went from the R68, T68, Browning Golden Eagle to the Mark II, in your 25 words or less, what would you say would be the difference, or the improvement, or the update, or the change from the Golden Eagle to the Mark II? Over.
Well, the Mark II had, I believe, where's that switch? Let me see. There it is. It's sideband receive on the Mark II. The channel selector was more of a eye-shaped thing as far as the window. You had the on-the-air light on the receiver, which you don't have on the Golden Eagle. And you had a tunable high-freak tunable capacitor that you could get from the side of the case, I think. Yeah, there's a hole. I gotta look with my flashlight. You had the regular RF gain control. You had a switch under the channel selector for, what's it say? Fixed, manual, and BB for business band. And I'm not sure if the Golden Eagle had the Collins filter, but I think the Mark II did.
Yeah, Collins filter was a big plus. And I was looking at the dates for the R68, T60, 1967 to 68, $395. And we were talking about the Regency Imperial and the Tram Titan 2, the 2A, the one that also had the sideband and double sideband. So that was at the time, 67, 68, when if you were one of the top players, you needed to get some sideband going on because the imports are starting to come in. Yaesu, the FT101 series, and and things like that. So, okay, that sounds right. That would have been the upgrade. One of the upgrades is to get some sideband in there, so thanks. Okay, it's 6 after 10. The Jingle Singers are ready to do their thing, but before I do that, thanks, Harvey. Let me see if there's anybody else that would like to jump in with the radio or a check-in or something over.
You're tuned to
OTR. Channel 11.
right here in
Fresno, California.
Stay with us
Old Tube Radio.
and be modern.
OTR counting and amounting. Ray, there were a lot of TV shops. There was Ernie's and Steve's TV Appliance Repair. I will have to ask. I've got some people that work with me at the TV stations, and I think Steve's TV was one of the advertisers in the old days over at Channel 30, and then one of the old announcers. I'll have to ask Ross if he remembered. He might have done the announcer, Steve's TV at the corner of whatever, so maybe he would remember. A lot of TV repair shops out there that made a living. I'm sure you didn't get rich, but you probably put food on the table when you're able to afford the Ford LTD Deluxe station wagon, maybe, along with your service vehicle, and take a week vacation along the way. We are, last call for stations here.
Oh, Dennis, on the last call there, did you get 650?
Oh, when I was running around here doing things, I heard people talking to 6. Yeah, I'm going to get him in here. He was not coming in as well on my receiver, but I'm glad somebody was able to pick him up. Because, that was in between the break between the tube, or the SWL and the tube thing, so thanks.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Okay, I see Mr. Announcer and the OTR Orchestra gathering around the microphoniums so that they can do what they do best.
Ladies and gentlemen, time now for the current OTR totals.
This would be the current and final totals. I think back when we used to do this for 3 hours, we would run that every hour. We'd have totals for the radio. The totals, I remember Steve and some of the other stations would key up and go, totals. So here is the final totals, 10 radios tonight. And we had a 9-way tie until the tiebreaker, radio number 10, came in. On the SWL side, we had 12 check-ins on page 1, 16 on page 2, 15 on page 3, and 20. Wow, 20 on page 4. That's almost the whole page. For a total of 63. So when the weather gets good, people do jump into the Radio Shack, albeit just for a moment between movies and popcorn and whatever else they're doing, but we appreciate that. Most heard radio tonight. It was a 9-way tie until we had the R68, T68, Browning Golden Beagle. So the Brownings tonight with the bookends, starting off with the Browning Golden Eagle Mark II, Series B, the one following radio we just heard. You heard some of the updates with the sideband and some other things. Thanks, Paul, for that. Radio number 2 was Jerry on the Helicopter's CB3A Little Phone. The Regency Imperial Double Sideband AM. Yay for the Regency from Paul. Sounding good. I wonder what would that sound like with an amplified mic, but it's perfect. Radio number 4, Chris on the General Ready Telephone Super MC11A that was followed by Paul on the Pierce Simpson Escort. Radio 6 was 6 and 7, Chris on the Gem Marine Products G Power Mate and his Chris 23 Plus. Harvey came in with the kind of rare Buddy TR11 RC11, and he is definitely looking for some info or schematics on one or both of those radios, if you have something or know something. That leads me to believe that it is not something readily available in your Nifty Sam's PhotoFax collection. But he's done a good job. Harvey did a good job of bringing that one back to life on the transmitter side. I know you said the receive side had some issues. Radio number 9, the Courier Royale from Chris, and then the R68, T68, the original Eagle, or the original Golden Eagle, the as Jerry would say, the Mark None for Radio 10 tonight. It is, we got the windows open behind me, or just that kind of evening. It is 76. Doesn't feel like 76, but 76 in here. Got my sleeves rolled up. It's that kind of a summer, or that kind of a spring, almost like summer here in Central California. Good night to those who are still out there listening at oldtuberadio.com, oldtuberadio.net, and here on Channel 11. We will try and do this again next week. Take some time out of your day or your evening to get on the air, wherever it may be, what channel it might be on, or the type of radio. If you've got a chance to key up a tube radio this week, as they used to say in the 70s, go for it. Thanks to SearchLawrence.com and Frodex keeping the Nixie tubes running, and thanks to all of you for keeping this OTR running for the last 34 years. And then the thing that threw me off here at the beginning was the little Dell wireless keyboard. I don't know, maybe does it have a reset? I don't know. I'll have to see if I have a reset switch and get that back on there. Good night, everybody. We will catch you next time on the Old Tube Radio Network. And unlike one of our local TV stations here, I don't have a little tube, a talking tube that comes out and pulls all the tubes out of the radio and puts the cover over the radio and says, "Good night." And we sign off that way. Good night, everybody.